Coming September 1st, Rewind 9/11.
Today, we've had a national tragedy.
An incredible plane crash into the World Trade Center.
A look back at the tragedy of that day.
Another explosion has taken place at the Pentagon.
It became very apparent that what was happening was terrorism.
Fox News presents Rewind 9/11.
People who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Listen on Odyssey.
CuriosityStream has thousands of documentary films and shows available on demand on any device. We're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. There sure are a lot of streaming services, aren't there? CuriosityStream is the one you definitely need if you're the type to nature dock and chill, if you're an armchair astronaut, if you prefer physics to psychics, or perhaps you know a precocious paleontologist. Go to curiositystream.com to learn more and sign up today.
KNC Masterpiece right here on 105.3 The Fan, 877-881-1053. Who is the Cowboys player who still has something to prove to you? I missed it yesterday, but I know you guys were talking about like the Cowboy player that's kind of like popped off the screen for you. So I was reading this thing where in the Dallas Morning News where DeMarcus Lawrence said, even heading into his 8th year in the article by Calvin Watkins, he feels like he still, as always, has something to prove. And I've been very upfront about what I think he still needs to do, but I was curious who it was for y'all, for the listeners, the singular Cowboys player.
Because you could say a lot of people, honestly. I mean, how established are we as a 6-10 or 8-8 team the year before?
Absolutely. And so it could be a matter of a young player who's got too much hype. It could be a veteran. It could be, I understand there are a lot of options, but I wanted to know, is there a single player who you most identify as like, you still have to prove something? Because I kind of do think it could be DeMarcus Lawrence. We had him on last year, told him the whole thing about not saying the nickname anymore, and I get it. You also have to work in cooperation with the defense around you. But since he's gotten paid, he has been disappointing.
Well, I'll go first and take all the hate on Autoflex Leasing fan text. I think it's Dak Prescott. He just got paid as the highest quarterback in the NFL besides Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think he's in that category. Now, I get why you have to pay him that much. I'm not saying the Cowboys shouldn't have paid him. But at the same time, at this point, a lot to prove. Yeah, you have to be on Patrick Mahomes' level. You have to be on Josh Allen's level. That's what you're getting paid. So it's like when I've heard stuff, I know I'm going to baseball here, but people in New York are like, I can't believe the Rangers just released Rugi Odor. And I'm like, you know what? When Rugi Odor's on your team for league minimum as kind of a utility player, that's a hell of an asset. When you're paying that dude $12 million to be a franchise-changing player, he's not living up to expectations and not anywhere close. Well, I'm not putting Dak in Rugi Odor's situation. But what I'm saying is you have to be an MVP candidate now. You have to be like, oh, my God, is he the best quarterback in the NFL? Let's have conversations in week 6, week 10, week 12. Is Dak the best quarterback in the NFL? Because that's what he's getting paid to be.
And that's
I think a lot of people will say that as well. I do not think that is a fringe opinion.
I kind of have a ranking, and he's third on my list. Because I think Dak's been very good. I've been very happy with Dak Prescott.
Can I ask you a question about
what?
That? Oh, that was aggressive. It's not a negative question. God, it's so aggressive. So does that change? Because I agree. I think most rational football people would say he has been good so far.
I agree.
Does that change now with kind of what Mike was talking about is, well, and you've been great for a fourth round. For a fourth round pick, he's been a revelation. But does it change now because the metric is you're no longer, I always said this with Tony Romo. People are like, he was an undrafted free. Not anymore. Like when you got paid, that's not what you are anymore. Dak Prescott is not a fourth round pick anymore. He's the second highest paid quarterback in football, and that's how people will judge him. Does that change the way you judge him?
I said I think he's been very good. Right?
Yeah.
I never said that I think that he's elite or excellent.
Nope.
And that being said, if that's the only way that we compare people is that they get whatever their market value is at that point because they're resetting the market all the time at the positions, then yes, he has to be better. Like because that seems to be what happens is once you get paid, Well, even though the money just keeps going up at that position,
it does.
Because isn't he now? Didn't Josh Allen get a bigger contract? So once you get paid, that seems to be the bar for a lot of people. I don't care what he's getting paid as long as we're winning or the Cowboys are winning. Because I am not we. So that's at the end of the day, if he's making $500,000 or $60 million, doesn't matter. They just need to win. So to be the Mahomes type, to be those guys, you have to be elite. And that's what matters even more, whatever his money is there. But I understand how a lot of people are like, hey, you're getting this much of the pie. You should be living up to it. But I just want them to win. He is third on my list. I think Zeke is number 2.
Okay.
And has something to prove considering what happened last year.
Okay.
Because last year like his numbers last year looked like the suspension year.
Yep.
And I don't know what the problem was, but Mike, you know what's really great is I think Mike and I are and I think even Kevin's kind of hopping in. We're expecting a really good year from Zeke this year because Mike, you put it yesterday very clearly twice. He did the things in the offseason that he needed to do to be prepared for and admitted to himself that he stunk.
Totally.
But my number one person, and it might get covered up because of a couple of additions this team's made, is Leighton Vander Esch. He is in a contract season, correct? So for him, this is a very important year.
Yeah, because it is a contract season because he didn't get the other contract.
Yeah, he didn't get his extension. So I think he has a lot to prove, not only to that he is the player that was an all-pro his rookie year, and these injuries won't continue to pop up out of nowhere with him. I think that he's one of those guys that has to prove it to himself, because I think that confidence can hit you. I think he has to prove it to the Dallas Cowboys, the fan base, and other teams in the NFL that he could go out there and play for. So I think that when it comes to that's it. For me, it's Leighton Vander Esch, Zeke, and then Dak.
Okay. There are a lot of people saying Leighton Vander Esch from the 972. I see another one from the 214. And I also see plenty for Dak Prescott as well and DeMarcus Lawrence. And then a handful from the 940, Zeke, and 972, Zeke. So far, those are the 4 that I see the most is Vander Esch, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dak, and Zeke. I did see, though, one for Jalen Smith, and we're actually probably going to talk about Jalen Smith.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't have any expectations for him anymore.
I think that is fair.
Because if Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox had walked into this place and shown nothing, and Mike, again, it is practice, but if they had shown nothing, I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm concerned about Jalen Smith. But you discussed the money earlier.
Yep.
At this point, I look at money that's already spent and I can't do anything about it, and it was a bad investment. And you know what? I look at what I have here. These crops are growing, so I'm excited about what's going on over here. I'm just going to ignore that on the other side.
And I want to talk just for half a second about the money, because your point about quarterback pricing going up consistently is well made. I know Coop earlier this year on our station said he wished that people could ignore the money about KP because he can do X, Y, and Z. It's just the issue in salary capped leagues is that the money that you pay prevents you from doing something else. And I look at Jalen Smith as, wow, second round pick is really high for an amazing story, but he did get back out there and he played really well for a season. And you're like, wow, what a turnaround. And then he got paid, and the expectations naturally go up with that. When you trade for KP and he gets a 5-year max deal, you put those expectations in place, not us. We're just asking teams to live up to that expectation. And so I'm with you. I'm not surprised that more people aren't saying Jalen Smith, because I think a lot of people are just like you,
I think
Corey.
It's become the out of sight, out of mind thing, and they're feeling like because Micah Parsons has taken up so much of our sight that we are now like he's out of sight. Jalen Smith, well, that problem, it's there, but that's a bad investment the Cowboys made. Not, and that again goes to, hey, Jalen Smith just jumped in line. He took advantage of his opportunity. I got to credit him for that.
Yeah.
And those expectations, like that's part of it. But the Cowboys, like they're the ones that paid him the money. They didn't have to, but they paid him the money for that. So again, I think it's an out of sight, out of mind thing at the moment. And the excitement level is all focused on them. So I don't have any expectations or feel like he has anything to prove. I feel at this point he's along for the ride until his contract is up or until they move on from him.
From the 817, it's Mike McCarthy. Now, I had only thought about this from the perspective of the players, but I mean, I damn sure agree with that. But I think that goes back to, what did you think about the hire when it got made? I did not like the hire when it got made. And I now think we're coming up on 5 years since Mike McCarthy had a winning season as a head coach in the NFL. I'm going to go double check that real quick. But I'm just saying,
why are you bringing up real things?
I get, why are we bringing up real things? I get it. And here's a it's been 5 years since he had a winning season in the NFL.
Did he have an 8-8 season in between there?
Nope.
Okay, so 5 years since he's been over 500.
Correct.
All right.
So,
or even at 500.
It is a very real thing that he won a Super Bowl in this league as a head coach. That is absolutely a fact. I just think we get caught too much up on, and the Cowboys do this, I think, all the time, is you get caught up on what you accomplish. You do not pay people or hire people or draft people for that line of logic for what they've already done. It's what you think they're going to do. And I think we hired Mike McCarthy based on what he'd already done among many other people that we give contracts to.
Because, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong here, whenever they hired him, they were trying to get away from, they thought, we built the team. The only thing that's wrong is that we don't have a coach that has the credentials. All we have to do is get a new coach, and the players should be, everything should be the same.
Yeah.
That was the feeling that I got.
What happens when that doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah, and then last year happened.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get the players to respect the defensive coordinator. They didn't like what he was putting out there. They didn't understand his defense. They couldn't comprehend it. So it wasn't the players. It was clearly the coach, so they moved on. Now, I totally see what you're saying there, but I feel like that was the Cowboys' idea was, all we need is a real NFL coach. Jason Garrett, we gave him plenty of time. He wasn't a real NFL coach. And this is a real NFL coach that has skins on the wall, and the players should just follow.
We're asking which Cowboys player still has something to prove, because DeMarcus Lawrence, he said, 8th season, I feel like I still got something to prove. There's a couple of really intriguing names on here. From the 682, do y'all think Amari still has something to prove? I mean, Corey legitimately told him that to his face at training camp.
And I told my wife what I said and how I think I take him for granted, and I have higher expectations that he hasn't quite met yet. And she was like, oh my, you really said that to him? And I was like,
yes, he did.
And his response was, I take that as a compliment because it means you think highly of me. And then
what a great answer.
And then he totally made me fall in love with him again. But then after that, what did he say to you about his expectations? He said, my expectations, you'd be surprised. You'd be shocked.
Couldn't even fathom. Yeah. So at that point we asked 2,000 yards, and he's like, I'm just going to keep those to myself. But
I'd rather do it.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it on the field. And that's what I want to see too, because when I watch him run routes and I see the practice stuff, I'm like, that's still there. He's still that good.
To go along with the receiving side, here's one offensive player, one defensive player. Let me ask you, who do you think has more to prove? From the 903, Michael Gallup. From the 469, Trayvon Diggs. Now, those are two totally different players, not just in terms of position-wise, but in terms of Michael Gallup. A lot of people assume he's going to leave, and this is going to be a contract year for him. For Trayvon Diggs, because of where he got picked and because of our desperate need for anything good on defense to happen, we pay attention a lot to all the good things he did, not a lot of the rookie struggles. Who do you think has more to prove from that perspective?
Well, they both have a lot to prove.
I could see that.
I will say Michael Gallup just because this is money time. It's not money time for Trayvon Diggs. He can't do anything to make more money right now. I mean, it can help, but so I would say more to prove Michael Gallup because he has to prove it to 31 other teams, because if the Cowboys can't pay him $12 or $15 million a year, there's a lot to prove there to other teams. Where if Trayvon Diggs doesn't have a great year and he's okay, it's like he still has 2 more years here before he has to really prove it to the other 31 teams.
Mike, who are you more excited for this season? Because for me, it's Diggs.
Agreed.
I just want to see his second year because everybody talks about the sophomore slump, and for me, I'm like, oh man, I really hope he doesn't have a sophomore slump. Like I want to see what I expect him to be, and I expect him to be one of the top 15 corners in the league, and that would be nice.
Wow,
like that would be a really nice thing. I think there are a couple of really good corners. And then everything else it's just like, a lot of different positions. There are a couple of good ones at something, but then everybody else is just kind of lumped in together.
From the 210, not everybody on the station is like this, but I understand it. Randy Gregory. This radio station talks about him like he's a Hall of Fame pass rusher. I
agree.
I do not. Oh, that
this radio station?
I feel like
I could definitely see
like
that.
There's a lot of hype for Randy Gregory being one of the greatest defensive ends in the NFL this year.
I agree.
From this show?
Not from this show, but
Mike,
I
know
you don't listen to this show. Admit it. Admit it, Mike.
Sometimes I agree with that.
What are we talking about?
Oh my God! But no, I understand his. I understand his point, and we've talked about this many times. When has Randy Gregory ever proven to be a full season impact player?
And I shouldn't say this station. I should say that overall, the media here has pumped up Randy Gregory to be just amazing this year. And I think that he can be solid, but we've pumped him up to be like all-pro, $20 million a year type of guy after this year is over. My God, we better hurry up and sign him before he gets 14 sacks this year and gets $20 million a year from somebody.
That's interesting because if I don't know. What is his contract status at the moment?
Oh, he's not making a lot of money.
If he had a Robert Quinn season, are you like, man, all right, that's a dude for the next 3 to 4 years for this team, the contract that I'd like to go ahead and do if he has a Robert Quinn season.
I know people hate hearing this, but let's just face the facts. Yes, because of also the backstory. Like, let's be honest. The backstory, because the Cowboys stuck with him. Like, they made a decision at a time when he was tumbling down the draft boards, and they were like, we're going to give you a shot. They have stuck with him and stuck with him and stuck with him, and it looks like he is an unrestricted free agent after this year. They have stuck with him through everything, and if it pays off, he's going to stay here. Like, I firmly believe
And
that.
he should be relatively cheap, Kevin, because of what he did. No?
I just don't think that's how sports works. I think people are more likely to look up to make up for lost time as opposed to, you took a chance on me, I'll give you a discount. But that would be great.
Isn't that what Dez did? Like that's what Dez did, kind of. Like he felt like he should have been drafted higher, and so he was like, I want bigger money.
Yeah.
I want that money that's maxed out because I should have been drafted.
I thought you
higher.
were saying he took a discount.
No.
We're the KNC Masterpiece right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, what sport would you want to see instead of football on Hard Knocks? And which team do you want to watch? 877-881-1053. We'll do it next right here on The Fan. KNC Masterpiece right here on 105.3 The Fan. What an amazing baseball nuggets. Or at some point in the show, we're going to have to talk about Peter Gammons, I promise. But right now, what sport would you want to see instead of football on Hard Knocks, and which team would you want to watch? 877-881-1053. Because, I know some people have said they think the season's been kind of boring, which is probably not a bad thing for the Cowboys. LeBron thinks it's amazing. He tweeted out yesterday, man, watching Hard Knocks, incredible show, man. Every time I watch it, I wish we had that as well, just for training camp and preseason too. So fire. So he wants basketball Hard Knocks. I'm not going to lie. I would love to see, as much as I hate them, a Lakers Hard Knocks. I think it would be amazingly interesting.
Wow. AFC Richmond.
Is that the Ted Lasso team?
Yeah. I feel like I'm already watching it, essentially, though, because, you get the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah.
But no, man, the Lakers, that's very interesting. I guess then the Yankees would be in that mix for me because I want to know the story, or what I want to see the conversation when Joey Gallo shows up and they say, all right, here's the razor, shave your beard. And
I know that story.
Okay, can you we're going to take a second because I want to know more behind this.
So what happens is, because I asked this question because G-Bag was having a fun conversation about it, so I was like, man, let me find out. That's an interesting question. If somebody didn't want to shave their beard or wanted to have long hair and they're like, too bad, I'm coming to your team with long hair or a beard, they'll be like, well, too bad we're not trading for you. So it was known before when Scott Boras, when they were working out a deal possibly to go to the Yankees make sure that all of the players they're trading for that are in the major leagues, like, hey, we're considering trading for you. Agent lets player know, hey, Yankees are interested, but, you'd have to shave your beard. If the player says, no, the beard is more important to me than going to the Yankees are like, that's fine. And then trade talks are off. They're done. So it's worked out. They don't trade for a guy or sign a guy and then hope that they shave their beard or cut their hair. It's known before, and it's agreed to by the player before. Before we trade for you, before we sign you, these are our rules. Do you agree to these rules? And if you say no, then trade talks are off.
And is it to force conformity, or is there like where did that story start is what I want to know one day.
Long time ago for the Yankees is just part of their
clean cut
you're
guys.
Clean cut, no beards. You can have a mustache, which is weird, right? Because I think mustaches at times on people can look way worse than a beard, but they're just like, no, your hair has to be a certain length. Like you can grow it out a little, but it can't get I can't remember where it is. It can't get close to shoulder length. And obviously you have to have pretty much a clean face. You can have a mustache is as far as it'll go.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that there, but plus, all the history on that team. But I do want that behind the scenes moment where they hand them the Gillette and they hand him the Brule cream or whatever it is that he's gonna. Is that
word they use?
Is it Brule cream? Is that what you shave with? Is that shaving cream? I haven't used shaving cream in a long time.
Yeah, I think shaving cream is probably okay to say.
Yeah, according to
Barbasol?
Wikipedia. Oh, yeah, that's one. That's another one. According to Wikipedia, it was actually started in '73. Steinbrenner, the then owner, reportedly after seeing several players' hair covering up their numbers during the performance of the Stars and Spangled Banner, he decided no more.
Okay, because it was covering up the numbers, even though they don't have their names on the jerseys, right?
Well, look,
there are no names on the Yankees jerseys, which is always weird when they sell Yankee jerseys with names on them. Like, that's stupid. Like, I wouldn't want a jersey that says Jeter on it or Ruth because their names weren't on their jerseys. It's not a real jersey. It's a fake jersey.
Fake!
Okay, from the 956, the Clippers is the team that they would want to see on this.
I will say that actually just took a back seat to from the 817, the Nets.
Okay,
is that Mike just read the book and
I'm not done with the book, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I wonder if they would just smoke weed on HBO Hard Knocks because from what they say that. Most guys in the NBA smoke weed, but they don't even care to cover it up. Like they'll go out in public and party and be like, yeah, we smoke weed. Like big deal. Where most guys that do it in the NBA are like, yeah, we do it, but we still do it in private to make sure we don't put out that image that we do it all the time.
Okay. I'm definitely interested in that.
Because you want to see Kevin Durant with all of his phones and all of his burner accounts. And
he's like, oh, hell no, you didn't, Chip Muncher 82. And they could just go after him. I don't know.
Muncher 82.
I just want you to know, when I started that sentence, I had no answer for what that fake handle was going to be.
Which can make the best sentences.
No, that sentence, I didn't know how it was going to end.
And we could tell.
But okay, that's hurtful. But also for the Clippers, I would just love to find out that Kawhi has the most amazing personality ever. And he's like, all right, I got a new joke for you guys today. And he's just bringing all kinds of fun every single day. And he's like, I told you guys I was a fun guy. And just nobody knew.
There's no way.
No, why not?
There's no way that would happen. He would show up and he would be like, I got to go work on my knee. I'll see y'all later.
It's time to play basketball. It's time to practice basketball.
You know what?
That makes me sad.
Maybe they would be able to show that he actually has a bionic arm that's able to grow longer while he's in the air, like a go-go gadget arm. Because I've always felt that he gets longer whenever he jumps up in the air because when he's swatting somebody's pass or going up for a dunk.
Now, from the 214, they said the dumpster fire that is the Knicks. Not anymore, man. For a long time, yes. But would that still interest you? Because now that's a team that they look like they're on the come up. So I don't know if I would be as interested in that.
I wonder if this does happen. It has to be the Lakers. I'm just thinking because LeBron has a deal already with HBO, right? I mean, he's
doing the shop and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that, it might be really easy to convince the Lakers we want to do whatever you'd call it. I'm sure you wouldn't call it Hard Knocks, but
from the 302, the Washington Capitals. That's the one you want to see the year that they won the cup, right? Like you want to do the
It'd just be preseason stuff.
The 2 weeks. No, I want to see the 2 weeks that after they won the cup, where they just went around and carried it everywhere. And was it Ovechkin was just standing out in the middle of the National Stadium, just holding it above his head? I want to see that party for a couple of weeks, because that's the other thing. I don't want to just watch the preseason stuff for these sports. I want to see a little more like of a really captivating storyline that they're following. I enjoy that their Hard Knocks is trying to create some storylines for the Cowboys. It does feel like they're like, hey, this Hardy thing, this is interesting.
Okay.
Because I don't think that they got the shot of him putting the thing in his eye before it popped out in the middle of a game. I think that they did that after. They were like, all right, can we take a shot of this? And then they just put it together with movie magic that way.
Okay.
Isn't that All or Nothing, though? Where we get the full run of a season with a team?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the Cowboys have done it, and I know they've done a few Premier League teams. I think that they've done some with college. Like, they're all over the place with this.
Do you think that along the lines with this, do you think that Hard Knocks did you already feel like it was boring? Do you think like it's boring this season, or the fact that it's a team we care about, it's inherently not going to be boring because you're still getting stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise?
For me, it has to be the team that I care about.
Okay.
I tried watching the Raiders stuff, and I was just like, I just fell out. I was just like, this isn't interesting to me. I just don't care that much.
Were they showing players that weren't going to make the team too? See, that's the thing is I never.
And they were like Antonio Brown. When they're like Antonio Brown doesn't happen, I'm like, well, who cares? Like I'm not because I thought, oh man, I want to see how Hard Knocks handled this Antonio Brown thing, and was like halfway through the episode and going, they're not going to cover this, are they?
Yeah. I did not know. And forgive me for being a bad NFL fan.
That's tomorrow.
I did not know that there was an international pathway with the NFL until I saw the Alarcon story. When I watched them tell that part of it, I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. So that was something that was cool, but I wonder how many other fans out there that mattered to. But then when they sat there and did, a stretch of the show and they were speaking Spanish, I wonder who out there was sitting there going, man, I love that they're having this conversation like this, that they're having this part of the family conversation. And you discussed that about DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then we watched Diggs' son. I thought he was a fantastic
awesome
character. But, those are the other things that sometimes I'm like, okay, what's the balance between stars? Because I want to see the stars. But at the same time, I do kind of like knowing some of the other backstories of some of the players that might not make the team that I might see later down the road.
Did you like the backstory? And I'm sorry if y'all discussed this already. Did you like the backstory of the fourth generation Cowboys employee,
Absolutely.
like playing cards
that was
and
awesome.
stuff like that?
I loved it. Especially love watching them play the game, and Micah Parsons is over there, and he's cheating and everything. My favorite bit, Kevin, is the orange slice that he gets at halftime, and they show him eating an orange.
He tweeted about that. He's like, man, y'all did me dirty with this. I thought that was really funny.
But I thought that was a really cool story, and we pointed this out yesterday. Like Dak Prescott would know that, right? He would know that dude is a fourth-generation Cowboys employee.
Yeah, because everybody else in the room was like,
wow, what?
What are you talking
Dak
about? And he
Prescott.
goes, all right, real quick. Mike, do you want to wait for baseball nuggets, or can we talk about this?
Let's wait.
Okay. All right. You know what? We're going to do a supersized baseball nuggets because we have regular baseball nuggets and this other new amazing thing, and it's all going to be this awesome baseball nuggets segment. It's all coming up next right here on the Fan.
How many times did I get dry humped in the bullpen?
What?
Next.
Coming September 1st, Rewind 9/11.
Today, we've had a national tragedy.
An incredible plane crash into the World Trade Center.
A look back at the tragedy of that day.
Another explosion has taken place at the Pentagon.
It became very apparent that what was happening was terrorism.
Fox News presents Rewind 9/11.
People who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Listen on Odyssey.
CuriosityStream has thousands of documentary films and shows available on demand on any device. We're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. There sure are a lot of streaming services, aren't there? CuriosityStream is the one you definitely need if you're the type to nature dock and chill, if you're an armchair astronaut, if you prefer physics to psychics, or perhaps you know a precocious paleontologist. Go to CuriosityStream.com to learn more and sign up today.
KNC Masterpiece back here on 105.3 The Fan. Don't forget, since we're talking about training camp in that spot just a second ago, we will be out at the Star tomorrow to do our show. But right now, it's time for Baseball Nuggets with Mike Bassick.
All right, let's talk about a phrase used in the bullpen, and that is dry humped. Kevin, would you like to read Peter Gammon's tweet on guys getting dry humped in the bullpen?
I will. I don't know how many times we should use that phrase.
What is happening?
I did get authorization because Peter Gammons tweeted this out yesterday. This is, I swear to God, this is a real tweet.
How old is Peter Gammons?
In this bullpen era, 9 innings, 9 pitchers, one stat I want to see every day is how many times the manager dry humps a reliever.
What?
Gets him up.
No, someone's got to send that to HR.
Gets him up and sits him down without entering the game. We'd get a clear picture of BP eager managers who may be over their heads and endanger pitchers.
Okay.
That's got to be a violation. That's a workplace violation.
Peter Gammons describes getting dry humped in the bullpen perfectly. We actually have a chart in the dugout. At least when I played, there was a chart, and there probably still is. It will show how many pitches you threw in the bullpen if they rang the phone, but it'll also say didn't pitch in the game. So that is a common phrase, been used for decades.
Is it damaging to pitchers, you think?
Yes. So you don't want to do that too much, because if I were to say, Kevin, if you're in the bullpen and phone rings in the 5th inning, I'm like, Kevin, get up. You might come in here if he gets into trouble. Well, you have to throw the ball as hard as you can, 15 to 20 times there, to be ready to go into the game. Well, you didn't get into the game. That doesn't mean I didn't use you at all that game. That means that I kind of used you, but I didn't put you in the game. Then the next night, it happens again, and you don't go into the game. You're furious as a bullpen guy. You're like, hey, MFer, stop calling down here and not putting me in the game, because I'm having to. Because now if you put me in the game the 3rd day, and you're like, well, you didn't pitch the last 2 days. Like, BS, I didn't pitch. Like, do you think you thought I didn't get ready to go in the times that you called? Because if that's the case, and then you want me to get up and then not go into the game, then I won't throw the ball hard. And then when you say, hey, are you ready? I'm going to say, no, I'm not ready. I was lobbing the ball because I just assumed you're going to dry hump me again. So, you want to put me in the game? Well, give me 10 more throws down here. Let the guy face another batter. And then I'll be ready after this batter is done, hitting the guy who's in the game that you don't want to pitch into the game. So if your manager, and it is called dry humping, if your manager dry humps you enough, then you'll stop throwing the ball hard in the bullpen and then go, all right, well, I'm not going to throw the ball hard until I really know you're putting me into the game.
Thank you for giving that space.
See?
I'm definitely cutting that up.
But it's a real thing that when I was asking y'all, I wasn't just like randomly bringing up weird things to say on air. Like, that is legitimately what he tweeted. And there was a time when, I know that time's not here and now, but there was a time when like Peter Gammons was, to me, the most trusted baseball source of information. Like on Baseball Tonight, when he said something, I was like, oh, Peter Gammons said it, got it. He's a great reporter, and he had a stroke. I don't know if it's been a decade now, but at least 5 years ago he had a pretty major stroke, and he is on MLB Network here every once in a while as like a special guest that they'll have on or whatever, but that slowed down his I don't know if career's the right word, because he was probably close to retiring anyways, but once that probably happened, he's like, man, I got to get healthy, and there's only so many days left on this earth to enjoy, and do I just want to keep doing it covering baseball? So it's interesting because I guess I haven't, thought of that term in a while by not pitching, but yeah, it's a common term to use when the manager calls down to the pen, says, hey, get going, I might need you in the game, and then he doesn't put you in. That does take a toll on your arm during a season.
How many pitches, and I know it feels like it should vary from every pitcher,
right,
but how many pitches are warm-up pitches that count in the bullpen?
once you get on the rubber and then you tell the catcher to get down, that's when the bullpen coach starts counting.
Okay.
So as long as you're just playing catch, throwing the ball hard, you can, kind of do replacement step or crow hop throws to like get your arm going. But once you tell the catcher get down and you get on the rubber, that's when the pitching coach starts counting how many pitches you threw in the bullpen. And so he has to write down on a chart when they put you in the game or you sit back down. Let's say the fifth inning ends and you didn't get in. He writes down 27.
Okay.
And so now they know you threw 27 pitches warming up to possibly go into the game. So they have to know, did we overuse them? Because let's say you get up in the third inning, your starting pitcher is doing bad, but he gets out of the situation and you threw 22. And then in the fourth inning, he gets in a little bit of a situation. This happened to me on opening day in New York in 2002. And then the guy gets out of the situation, or they bring in somebody else to pitch because they wanted you to be more of a guy to start a clean inning, and you throw another 20. Well, now you've thrown 45 pitches already in the bullpen. And so you have to keep track of that to then know, are we also overworking him or overusing him in just getting him up in the bullpen? And as you get older and you're more of a veteran guy, you can kind of maybe take a little bit shorter time to get ready and just be like, hey, after 10 or 12, I'm ready. Because you have to remember, when you're a bullpen guy, you are going to get somewhere between 6 and 8 warm-up pitches on the mound too.
Okay.
And if you're Mariano Rivera,
do those count? Do those go on the chart anywhere?
No. The ones on the mound getting ready for the inning, like you're going out there, they don't count those.
Okay. But you were saying Rivera.
Well, it's like the umpires didn't care. Like at one point, like we're in New York, we're in Shea Stadium, and he's throwing like freaking 14 warm-up pitches. And I'm like, there's no count here. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, Mariano gets to do whatever he wants. And then I can't remember. It was either Bobby V or Art Hal. I can't remember what year it was. I had two managers there. And they were getting a little bit frustrated. Like, let's go. Like, how many are you going to give him? And it was almost like the umpires, like, looked at our dugout like, that's Mariano Rivera. We'll let him do whatever he wants to do. And we're like, well, we're kind of screwed here. If you're going to let him warm up however long he wants to warm up, you're probably going to have a damn good strike zone for Mariano Rivera since you seem to be in awe of this MFer. Let's play some baseball. He shouldn't get 14 warm-up pitches because he's Mariano Rivera, and my guy only gets 7 because he's not Mariano Rivera type of deal. So, all right.
Wow.
Let's go to the biggest news in baseball yesterday.
It was not the Peter Gammons tweet?
It was not the Peter Gammons tweet. Did you see what the Baltimore Orioles finally did?
They freaking won, and they beat Ohtani.
Kind of. Yes, they did win.
I'm going to say it like that.
Are we watching that right now, or is this a live game?
No, it's live.
Okay.
Ohtani actually has hit a home run today. He led off the game with a home run.
He was pissed about losing yesterday.
Number 41, but the Baltimore Orioles stopped their 19-game losing streak. Their franchise record was 21. I saw this.
That was to start a season, right? Back in, was it 88, 89?
88.
Okay.
Actually, I read Cal Ripken Jr.'s book, and he talks about that in one of the chapters because I don't think how public this was made, but he was so upset with that because they fired his dad. Cal Ripken Sr. got fired at about, I don't know what game it was, game 14, 15. I don't know what game it was, but he got fired, and that was his dad. And he's like, man, this isn't my dad's fault. We're playing like crap. And he kind of demanded a trade. You know, back then, obviously, there wasn't social media and there wasn't everything like that. But Cal Ripken Jr., who's kind of the Baltimore Oriole, was not happy with obviously how they were playing, and then really not happy with the organization for firing his father, and was kind of like, I don't want to be here anymore. But it ended up working out.
Can you imagine, Mike? Like, I mean, I was just thinking more about that, especially with all the implementations of the more playoff teams and everything like that. Like, that season is so long to know that you're just doing it for what? For yourself, for stats, for your season is over. If you're 0-21, your season is over.
Yeah, and this is where it becomes really tough, I think, in all professional sports, is there's only like, I mean, let's face it, I get there's parity in football, but there's only like 10 or 12 teams that they really know they have a chance to win it all. You're hoping, you're kind of excited about the season, and you're fooling yourself a little bit, but you know, they're smart enough to know after they play 3 or 4 games if they're really good enough to play at the highest level in the NFL. If not, you're doing your best to make as much money as you can in the short career that you're going to have. Whether you play 10 years or 15 years or 3 years, that's a short career. Even if you make it 15 years in the NFL, that's a very short career when we look at lifespans of careers that people have doing jobs. So the key is the manager, the head coaches. A lot of theirs is, to your point, Kevin, can I get these guys to not concentrate on themselves, because it's very easy to do, and concentrate on trying to help the team win? Because last night, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa hits a ground ball to second base on a high fastball, moves the runner to third base with less than 2 outs. That's 0 for 1 on your stat line. All that does is help your team win. It doesn't help you at the end of the day when you go to arbitration, when you're in free agency. They don't care. It's 0 for 1.
Yeah.
There's no positive stat that says I hit a fly ball to right field or a ground ball to second base to get the runner to third. A sacrifice fly is when you get the runner home. People sometimes forget that because it is a positive play, but it doesn't go down as a positive stat. A sacrifice bunt, it goes down as a 0 for 0. But, there's a lot of things where you're trying to convince players, I know this hurts you financially. It can hurt you in the long run, but it helps us win a baseball game. And that's another thing about analytics. A small part of it is last night when Isaiah Kiner-Falefa did that, I'm like, I wonder if the analytic people write that down as a positive or a negative.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is an interesting question.
Probably a negative.
Did you see the
stats are negative.
Back to social media, did you see what Baltimore tweeted out after that game?
I did not.
They put the face with a single tear running down, and they were like, "We won!"
Yeah, it was
kind of sad, but
it was big time. By the way, man, the Padres just keep losing. Luckily, the Reds are losing a few games here and there, but I really want the Padres to make the playoffs, and it's kind of disappointing that they just can't get their act together.
I told you, Mike, I thought this was their time. Like, it was this year. We weren't going to have to wait. They had arrived.
Their starting pitching has been suspect.
And they fired their pitching coach.
Yeah,
right?
Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Chris Paddock. If you go look at some of their guys that were really supposed to help them this year be a World Series contender, and maybe they'll all pick it up come playoff time, but usually you don't have a bad regular season or a below-average regular season and then start pitching great in the playoffs.
It also probably doesn't help that the Giants came out of absolute nowhere to be the best team in baseball.
Right, and that's, the Dodgers are still fighting to catch San Francisco right now, but they're doing a pretty good job of that by beating up on the Padres. In 16 innings last night, by the way.
Yeah, man, that was a long game.
So much for runner on second base.
Yeah.
Started on Wednesday, ended on Thursday.
Oh, God, that is a long game.
Mm-hmm.
We're the KNC Masterpiece.
My head hurts. What do you think I should do?
What's that?
My head hurts.
Go down the hall, ask the boss for some Advil or Tylenol.
Okay.
All right.
Coming up next, 5 NFL trades that make sense, including one to brighten Basic's headache and maybe his day. We'll do it next right here on The Fan.
Coming September 1st, Rewind 9/11.
Today, we've had a national tragedy.
An incredible plane crash into the World Trade Center.
A look back at the tragedy of that day.
Another explosion has taken place at the Pentagon.
It became very apparent that what was happening was terrorism.
Fox News presents Rewind 9/11.
The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Listen on Odyssey.
CuriosityStream has thousands of documentary films and shows available on demand on any device. We're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. There sure are a lot of streaming services, aren't there? CuriosityStream is the one you definitely need if you're the type to nature dock and chill, if you're an armchair astronaut, if you prefer physics to psychics, or perhaps you know a precocious paleontologist. Go to curiositystream.com to learn more and sign up today.